Bonding and attachment opportunities for fathers. Fathers showed a willingness to relieve the mother. Additionally, they responded emotionally, motivation. And I want to get to what's really important here as well. New fathers transitioning into a father world. This is an opportune moment, and babies can be massaged right after birth, and that's why I thought it was so important for midwives. And knowing that they, that they need to feel that their contributions. One of the things that happened was that fathers who were not involved in the study came up to me out in the community. I would be at dinner with friends or talking about the study, and they would share with me that although they were there when their wife or the mother of their baby gave birth to the baby, that they still felt like an interloper because most of the time she was surrounded by other female professionals, and that they would talk directly to her, and there wasn't a lot of eye contact. Now, this is only within the last 2 to 3 years. So sometimes I'll have midwives or so-and-so say, we try very hard to include the fathers. Here's the thing. I think sometimes when we're under the moment and we're in the moment, that we may not realize that we still are not giving them as much with our body language, with the eye contact, encouraging them to be involved, because inherently they feel like an interloper. It's not our fault that they feel like that, but we can do a lot to engage them. Yeah, here it is here. Father's desired involvement. Do we have, I think the question to walk away with is, do we support or discourage father involvement and include them as much as we can in infant caregiving? Or do we automatically assume because they're men that they're not going to know as much as we do? I met some very educated fathers who had been reading from the time they found out that their wife or their significant other was pregnant. And so with that, I'll say I'm done talking. And Linda, did you want to entertain questions, or where did you want to go from here?
Yes, indeed. We could have some questions. Have we got any that we didn't answer as we went along? I don't think we did. Would anybody have any questions to ask? Shall we let someone have the mic? Let's give Carleen the mic. There you go, Carleen. Just click yourself on and ask your question.
I want to answer this one. Fathers in the hospital feel like that, but home birthing fathers still part of the process. Several of the fathers did have home birthing, and some of them had birth center experiences, but still felt that way. And like I said, I think sometimes because we're going out of our way, we think that that's enough, and it really has to come, has to come out for some of them. I just don't think we should assume that we're doing everything.
I totally agree, I have to say, because that was actually from a bit of research that I did that showed that fathers felt more involved when they were doing the home birthing bit, because the midwife was the invited guest, whereas in the hospital the father is the uninvited guest. Anyway, Karen, did you want to ask a question?
And I wonder if they might even, Linda, determine it by whether or not they feel as somebody's in control. Even though you're the invited guest in, but maybe because we're professionals and because, we have the knowledge base, they might acquiesce to us. That's what I mean. It's not necessarily the professional's fault. It might be their perception.
Yeah, I do agree with that too. I'm not too sure whether Colin was going to ask a question or not. Anyway, what else do we have? Do we have a question here?
If you look in the Linda, if you look in the chat, you see Colin's got problems with her mic.
Yeah, I'm looking there. Yeah. Fathers can start massage during pregnancy over belly. Oh yes, that's just wonderful. I'm sure the mothers would love that too. Something that's not in here, that's in my TED Talk slides on my website, is that Verity Brazelton holds the baby up between the mother and him and says, now you call the baby and I'll call the baby, and the baby turns its head towards her. Then he turns around and he does it to the new father, and he said in 70% of the cases, the baby almost always turns its head towards the father, so that way the father knows that the baby recognized its voice from when it was in the mother's tummy. It's a very powerful video.
think Carlene's question is around fathers suffering PPD and whether there's any link with the sort of stuff you're talking about, Mary Kay, and maybe she references a study that Toronto's doing.
Yeah, I haven't seen any studies, but honestly, intuitively, understanding that when you massage somebody, you have the same kind of chemical reaction in your brain as the person who's being massaged, I think it would make a wonderful study because I think you would find something there, to be honest with you. And as far as same-sex couples and couples who adopt, there have already been studies on adoption couples, and the same thing. I don't necessarily think it's determined by sex. So one of the things I'm very excited about with this study is, like, for instance, here in the U.S., there is discriminatory practices against two fathers adopting a child. And, to be able to show that men do attach and bond, I think is incredible research, and there needs to be more done on that. I'm reading Sick Children's Hospital. Sorry.
Oh, just one last comment then, please.
Daily massage. I'm a slow reader, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, I love this when I have daddies put his in the mom's lap and read to the baby. When I was born, and I'm telling my age here, my father was sent off to the waiting room, and my mother labored, delivered, and recovered alone, and he saw her in the room, and I think the first time he saw me was behind a glass window, and I started this research back in 2010. And my mother passed away in 2012, and then I did the TED Talk. I had applied for it and hadn't told anybody about it, and I did the TED Talk April 10th. But unfortunately, my father passed away on February 2nd, so he wasn't able to see this research, but it's very near and dear to my heart now.
Mm-hmm. That's great then. Thank you very much, Mary Kay. That was a delightfully interesting presentation, and we will need to move on to kind of sort out the room for the next speaker, although she's not here yet. Just as a final remark, there's a rather funny little piece of video going around on Facebook at the moment, I don't know if you've seen it, of a toddler massaging the baby.
Oh yes, I also teach siblings. Just for a point of information, it's a great way to lower sibling rivalry. The toddlers and older children like to have something they can do, even if they just learned how to massage a foot or a little hand or something.
This is a very tiny little toddler, can't be very old at all, and he suddenly just goes along and kind of starts to massage this baby spontaneously. It's lovely. Well, it might have been set up, who knows, but it was a nice idea just the same.
Well, one last caveat, Linda, is that as I massaged my grandchildren and they got to be older, they come in the house now and want to massage my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to massage my son, who's got a chronic condition, and it just relaxed him, and that was in his teens. And even now he'll come over to me when he comes in and start doing the same kind of thing. It's wonderful. And as I said earlier on, it's all the oxytocin. To me, it's all down to oxytocin. But anyway, I think we need to close at that point so that we can prepare the room for the next session. Thank you so very much, Mary Kay. All her contact details are on the website if you want to continue this conversation or know more about her TED Talks and things like that, as well as on this slide. So please do go. I noticed she's befriended me on Facebook already. Or maybe I have befriended you. It was one way or the other. So thank you very much indeed.
You did. Thank you so much. It was such a privilege. It was my first virtual presentation, and you all are just fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, you're a natural at it then. That was very well done. Thank you very much. So,